Welcome to the SMY podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Bader. March is Music in Our Schools Month, and in a couple of weeks, the South Milwaukee Performing Arts Center will be full of families and students for our spring concerts. A staple of schools across the nation is the Spring High School Musical. Our high school is performing the award-winning show Legally Blonde, a musical based on a book and a 2001 movie by the same name. There are three components to a musical: the actors, the orchestra, and the stage crew. Today, you and I are going behind the scenes and talk to members of the crew who build the scenes that transform our theater into the world of Legally Blonde. Are you ready? Let's go talk to them.
Alright, so two of you come this way.
So let me set the scene for listeners here. What you're hearing is a workshop that's located behind the stage where students are pulling down these huge brick walls to paint. They look like brick walls, they're not. They'll explain kind of what they are. And students are pulling down buckets of paint, they're getting paintbrushes, and they're getting organized and starting their work.
Grab one of those mats. I got it.
My name is Hannah, and I'm a sophomore. I'm a 10th grader. This is my second musical, fourth production. Fourth? That's crazy.
And what attracted you to crew? Has it been crew for all four?
It's been crew for all four. I was really just interested in theater, and I was interested in learning more about crew, for sure. Coming in, I didn't know much, and now I know a little bit more than I probably would have elsewhere.
Okay. And tell me your name.
My name is Jace, and I'm also a sophomore. I joined also last year during Radium Girls, and I've been here for 4 productions, and yeah.
And what about crew has attracted you?
I think my favorite part is just like the feeling of like being in a shop and being able to do construction outside of just the normal school classes.
Okay, so are you guys would you be considered tech ed students, or is this just, sounds like it might be for you, but how about for you? Is that something you're attracted to?
I'm not necessarily in any tech ed classes right now. I'm not sure what the future holds, I guess.
Sure. What's your favorite thing about school right now?
In general, probably music.
What is it about crew that you really like?
I really do appreciate the hands-on experience and the in real life learning. You learn a lot. I learned how to use power tools, and I learned just normal things that people should probably know that I probably wouldn't have learned a while later elsewhere. I also really like the atmosphere of crew. I really like the people and coming in every day and just doing work, but also just hanging out with friends.
Okay, kind of same questions here. Kind of hands-on person?
Yeah, I enjoy the construction part of it the best. Sitting down during classes and doing tests really weren't my thing. So being able to come here and learn things about construction that I never knew, and then get to build on my knowledge of this, So that's yeah.
Is this something you do outside of school, your own?
Yeah. So I come here 2 hours every day, and I also come here after school sometimes for work, because I do get paid for work in the PAC, which is more construction. Yeah.
And then how about when just talking about your academic career, school selection, are you gravitating towards the career tech fields?
Yeah, I'm doing the majority of trades, looking into trades, and a little bit of music and a little bit of my other interests and hobbies.
Okay. So I'll ask both of you, what does it, if I never knew anything about theater, what do you do on crew? What's the point?
What's the point of crew? We build the sets. In construction crew, mainly we build sets. We fly things, which you should explain more about flying. But I'd like to say we make it look good. The actors, they put a lot of hard work into the show. But crew, I think whether you're a part of construction or lights or sound or no matter what you do, like you're just trying to do your best to make the show look as good as possible.
Would you agree with that? Is that the
Yeah, there's like many other things you can do. It's not just construction. You can do props or you can do lights and sound. But I think there's like a little bit for everybody here, you know. But there's definitely a lot of art that can get involved into the construction or props. There's a lot of art, but then there's also, like I said, the aspect of construction or like working or the, you know, like working with power tools.
Sure. So what have you worked on so far? For this show.
For this show, we've worked a lot on the bricks for our Harvard set. I'd say that's our main thing right now.
Yeah. So I can see what they are, but kind of say what am I looking at? There's so many of them.
They're like red bricks that are you.
So they got to be like 12 feet tall, right?
Yeah, they're 10 feet tall, outlined with a 1x4. Yeah, 1x4 border with it's just mullein is the cloth, and then we paint over the mullein and staple it down, and yeah.
So you guys painted all these brick walls? Is that what you did? Yeah. And did you do that part?
I did help paint.
It seems like it's all hands on deck with painting. Right now they're getting out cans of paint and paintbrushes, and everybody's got one. So,
yeah.
What other big projects have to be done for Legally Blonde?
Well, one of my favorites are legging the platforms. So we take these 8-foot platforms, or they can be 4 feet. This show we're doing a lot of 4 feet and shorter, but we take like the 4x4 legs and we attach them to the bottom of the platform, so then we can eventually start lifting them up and people can walk on them. And we make stairs too.
So platform, literally you're making a third dimension to the stage?
Yes, yeah.
And how, you've done that before, I guess? You guys know, are you always nervous when you have to walk on it for the first time?
Normally I'm not the first one. Normally other people jump to that opportunity, literally. But Nick always tries to be the first one just so we make sure it's safe.
Got it. That makes sense. So what else is a big part of this production? So we've got the Harvard scene. Apparently there's some three-dimensional scene. Is that what other parts do you have to work on to get ready for 2 weeks from now?
I've never seen Legally Blonde, so I have no clue. I just come here and I kind of just like build the set. You know, I follow the blueprints and I just come here and build. You know.
Probably like the college, like Elle's college, not Harvard necessarily, but her sorority house, the Delta News. It's very pink.
So a good question there is how much do you need to know about what the cast is doing right now?
Obviously, you need to know a little bit to some extent, but most people here, we just kind of like do what we're told.
Yeah, you're on a task, right? So do that, and then it all gets put together in the end.
Towards the end of the production, we do go on stage and we go through cue to cue and we sit there and we understand what they have worked on and what we've worked on, and we just kind of like put it together, you know? And we like see what they need to do and how we can help them with like props or making things, whatever, you know?
So what's when the play actually or the musical is going on, what do you guys do then?
Some people go by the flies and they sit there and they fly things up and down when they need to, or there are people in the booth that do lights, and then there are also I don't know, we like move props around or we bring set pieces on and off the stage.
So last year we did the Sound of Music. What did you do while they're actually on stage?
Me personally, I was a part of stage crew, so I helped move things on and off stage. And that's kind of it.
So it's important to know, though, to rehearse that, where things go and how they go, and it's got to be happen pretty quick.
Yeah. We have a day, I think the Saturday before Tech Week. It's always the Saturday before Tech Week, where we come in at like 8 a.m. and we run a full cue to cue, and we basically get told what gets put where, when it gets put there, and like we spike it with spike tape, and we know just like in advance where that goes.
We all like work with each other and we all help each other out whenever we need it. You know, between cast and crew, we're usually like there for each other.
Is there like a backstage director that tells you what to do, when to do it?
There are people like Nick or Mr. Backus that are always here to lend a helping hand.
So it's usually an adult and maybe not one of the kids. Yeah.
Well, we also have our deck chiefs. We have our deck chiefs, and they're the people who are on both sides of the stage, and they get told, they like tell people when to go on for like their cues for like taking things on and off, and they have a headset on and they know what's going on. And those are students.
Next, I got to talk to two freshmen. One of the strengths of South Milwaukee's theater program is that it builds talent. So sometimes even middle schoolers and then freshmen join, and they pick up skills and they grow into the leaders that'll do it next year and the year after. And I get to hear about that from two of them. So tell me your name.
Addison,
What year?
freshman.
My name is Ryan, freshman.
Addison, what got you interested in the crew?
Well, my sister did it growing up, and she said it was great, so I did it.
How old is your sister now?
She's 19.
Okay. So she's South Milwaukee grad?
She did, but she didn't do it in South Milwaukee. She did it in a different school.
Okay. And how about you? What did you do?
Same thing. My sister did it when she was in high school. She's now 19, and also my friends did crew. So
Okay. This is your first production for both of you?
This is my first production.
I did Clue and then the summer plays.
What attracted you to the crew side and not the cast side?
I'm less of a person to be up front and like everyone see me, so I like to build stuff more than to actually sing and say words out in front.
How about you?
I just have stage fright.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
So what have you guys been doing since we started on this show?
We've been making flats for like bricks and walls.
It looks like a lot of bricks. Is that what you've been doing
This
mostly?
is the background of the show so far.
What's left to do?
No idea.
No idea, not much.
Yeah.
Did you guys kind of get your assignments?
Yeah, we do it day by day, basically.
What's been your favorite project that you've worked on that you were proud of once you saw it on the stage?
I don't know yet because I haven't seen anything on the stage
Oh,
yet.
it's your first time.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm not too sure. I mean, maybe walls, because those were one of the most difficult things that we've done, like walls, stuff like that.
Clue is a pretty quick turning around thing, right? And there's a lot of atmosphere that comes with the different rooms. Imagine. What did you have to do during the show last year?
I was one of the people that would spin around the doors and lock the doors when they would fly down from the ceiling. And it basically just that a few different times.
And then what are you looking forward to? Are you nervous about the actual show or what you have to do?
I'm a little nervous because I'm a little clumsy, so I'm afraid I'm gonna like fall if I'm like bringing something out, but it'll be fine.
Have you guys made any friends while doing this?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah, like
everyone
the whole
here.
everyone.
Next, I had the chance to talk to the actual adult in the room. While the director may be putting the whole thing together, there are other leaders that are making things happen while he's out on stage with the cast. Okay, so tell me your name.
I'm Nick Devia.
And what's your title?
I'm the technical director at the Performing Arts Center.
And what's your role with Legally Blonde?
So I'm largely responsible for organizing the crew to build and paint and get the set ready to go from individual pieces to a complete set on stage.
About how many students are you directing, I guess, back there?
There's about 15 or so that come somewhat regularly. Some of them are here almost every day. Some of them only have availability 1 or 2 days a week. And then as we get closer to the show, more of the kids come and stay for the rehearsals and moving sets on stage.
How do you figure out what has to get done by when so that you're ready for when you go on stage?
So I have a plan of all of the elements that need to come together. And there are some pieces that can be prepped or painted or gotten together in a more complete form and still put away in between other things coming through the Performing Arts Center. And then other things, we get elements ready, like getting the legs for platforms cut to the appropriate heights so that when we get to the point where we set up the platforms, we can just assemble them at the correct height in one stretch instead of setting them up, taking them down, and finding places to store them in between.
Sure. Talking to the kids, it sounds like you have multiple crews. Like they call themselves the construction crew, right? And then what other crews are there?
So there's the construction crew. There's another crew like the booth crew that does lighting and sound. There are some others that do like props. We have a number of kids that come in and help with hair and makeup that kind of just help for the 2-ish weeks as we're getting ready for the show, helping with hair and makeup and costumes. Until we start working with the costumes, there's not as much for those kids to do. We have a costume designer that comes in and works with some of our costume students that have done it before, and periodically she'll have them pull a whole bunch of appropriate dresses or costume elements and get the kids to try them on for what we have. And then a few times through the rehearsal process, she'll come in with items she's found or borrowed from other theaters she works at, or some things that she makes herself.
Sure. So give us a 10,000-foot level from your job. What beginning, like 3 things you need to do to get ready for the show? So
coming up with a plan or a design with Mr. Backus, the director.
And when does that start? When do you do this?
That's usually a month or so before auditions. Shelley Kajacek has helped us come up with the drawings and plans for the last couple of shows. She's done theater programs for a number of years at previous districts, and she's taking largely a back seat here as she has other things on her plate, but she still likes doing that design part of it. And then I sort of take her drawings and get them from paper to stage.
Okay. So it's step 1, and step 2?
Step 2 is figuring out like a timeline of here's the 80 pieces we need to prepare, and figuring out like these flats can get painted and built during this 1 or 2 week span of time, and this stuff can get painted and then put on a back burner. This other stuff we need more space and room to work on, so we'll work on it closer to when the stuff takes the stage.
Okay. And then step 3?
Step 3, assembling it all together and hoping that not hoping, but knowing that the math and the Tinker Toys that all were in individual pieces and tucked away in different pockets of the storage come together and they look like the drawing did or looked like the plan does on the page.
Okay. And then when the show's actually happening, the students made it sound that they kind of get direction from you about what goes out when and how, and kind of walk us through that.
Sure. So as we have the different elements for the 20 or so scenes that happen in the show, different elements are, some of them stay on stage the whole time and they spin and they turn, and in one scene that might be in the courtroom for Legally Blonde, and another scene they're in Sorority Row. So some of those pieces, there's a choreography of the crew people moving wheeled platforms, and sometimes that's worked with lights as well. So some stuff will happen in a complete blackout, like a traditional scene change like you see everywhere. Some stuff, it would be done on the other side of the stage while lighting might pull focus downstage left while a scene change might happen upstage right.
So when you're pulling, how do you pull together a crew of kids that they have all these dynamics of interacting with each other during the school year, all the different things that go into being a high schooler, and then you have to pull them together for a single purpose? How do you do that?
So typically I have students that have done it in previous years or have done stuff like it. So maybe I find some freshmen that have experience with the tech ed program in the middle school or are in some of the tech ed classes here, and they would help with more of the building, and some of the kids that have an art background might help with more of the painting. But typically the kids that enjoy doing crew will talk to their friends and they'll get other kids to show up, or sometimes we'll have shows that need more people and they'll ask their friends, hey, can you help for a couple of weeks with painting or building? And often some of those kids are also kids that decide the next show they want to help out from an earlier stage in the process.
So they kind of self-selected. They gravitate to each other. Yeah. And then how do you have student leaders that get certain tasks that do more than others?
We do. Typically, kids that keep coming back year after year and showing that they have some of those leadership qualities, and they're really good at teaching other students how to use some of the tools and how to do some of the more complicated painting techniques. They'll often be given leadership roles, and they will be some of those kids that will eventually become like deck chiefs or eventually stage managers and stuff for leading more of the show as a whole.
What kind of guidance do they need because maybe they have that skill, but maybe not the people skills? Is it like a mentor type thing where you're giving them tips?
Typically there is. Typically we try to have someone that has done some leadership pair off or almost mentor an underclassman. So typically our sophomores and juniors and seniors will tend to be some of those crew leadership positions, and we'll try to pair them with a freshman or a younger sophomore, or maybe even an upperclassman that hasn't done it before, as like a junior deck chief or a junior prop lead or whatnot. And then on a future show, that underclassman might be the prop person, while the prop person might move on and help out with the booth, or maybe one of those people eventually steps into a role like a stage manager or a deck chief, and so therefore we need to backfill that prop lead role with someone else.
What's the payoff when you're all done? What's it like when that first night?
I think it's really cool to see, kind of like you were saying, these 80 plus students between the cast and crew and pit that all have spent dozens of hours a week working on their part of the project. And in that last week or so, it sort of comes together and you see that more complete piece. Kind of like looking at a pointillism piece of art, looking at it really close, it looks like 10,000 points of paint on the canvas, but when you step away like 30, 40 feet, it looks like a beautiful scenery kind of image. And that's a really cool end process to see how the puzzle comes together, or how the artistic piece has come together.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So next I had the opportunity to meet a student who's been in both roles, who's been in the crew, is currently in the cast, and has also been on crew. It was really interesting to hear what she had to say about the two sides of that coin. So tell me your name and what year student you are.
My name's Acacia, and I'm in 11th grade.
Tell me what your role is in Legally Blonde.
Vivian. The girl that dates Warner's boyfriend after they break up.
Okay. And I heard a little bit before that you were crew before this.
So my freshman year, I was assistant stage manager, and then sophomore year, I was stage manager, and this year I've been in Clue and this production.
Okay. And tell me the experience difference between being back of house and being front of house.
So I feel like back of house doesn't get as much recognition as it should, because everyone's so focused on what they can see, not what they're not seeing, because what you're not seeing is the most important part. Because I remember I would be in the booth calling everything, so everything would go on smoothly, and you're like, this needs to go, and this needs to go, and this needs to go. But it's that's what people don't see. Everyone just sees that it's transitioning smoothly.
And it's kind of it's a show within a show, right? Because you're having a lot of things happening right in the background.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a mini show out of the big show, because you're telling everyone what they're supposed to be doing to make the actual show work well.
Yeah, and instead of just walking on and off stage or dancing at the right time, you're moving pretty heavy things around.
Yeah, definitely.
What are some of the logistics of that? Like, what's it like?
So when I was assistant stage manager, we would have meetings with, so it would be stage manager and the 2 assistant stage managers. We would all meet and we'd talk about who we're assigning to what job and what, like, who, like, you're going to move this and you're going to move this and you're going to make sure that this person has their quick change done. And that I also did that when I was stage manager. I would meet with my assistant stage managers and we'd be like, okay, you're going to do this and you're going to do this and you're going to go off headset and help move this big heavy thing. So yeah, I don't know if they're still doing that, but that's how I did it.
Right. Do you find yourself wanting to slip back sometimes back here and do things?
Sometimes, definitely. It's definitely like more calm, and I feel like sometimes I just want to go back to like, oh yeah, like this is how, like I'm in crew mindset, not like, oh, I'm on stage now.
Yeah. And what's the transition been like to being in front of house?
It's been pretty good. I'm still getting used to it, but I'm pretty used to, because I've been acting since I was 11, so I'm pretty used to the whole being on stage thing. Just, it's different at a high school level, because it's like, oh, we're doing more than at a youth theater, which is what I was doing. So.
And then tell me about this show in particular. What makes it special?
I think it's a really fun show. I really like my castmates. It's very high energy, and it's not like the shows we did before, like Sound of Music was very classical and calming. High School Musical was, we don't talk about that show, it wasn't good. But this show is like very high energy. I really like it. It's a very fun show to be in.
All right, folks, let's do this. We're getting close. We've got 3 weeks to go, including this week. This is, for those of us on the stage, this is really our last week of being able to like perfect everything before we start throwing all these elements together. So it's really, really important that we have everybody here and that we've got everybody focused all week long, okay? There's going to be a lot of things that are happening starting next week, and it will feel stressful at times. I promise you it's going to be fine. It's just the nature of throwing a whole bunch of elements of the show together all at the same time, okay? But this week, our goals are make sure that we know everything, front and back. This is the last week you can call for lines. After this, the focus is off of you guys and making sure that you're ready to perform, and it goes to the production as a whole, okay? Crew, same thing for you guys. This is really the last week to make sure that all of those individual components are ready to go before we start putting them up on the stage. So, if you've been coming sporadically, maybe try to be here a little bit more frequently so we can have all hands on deck and make sure that we're good to go.
Next, we'll speak to Director Tim Backus about what all these pieces mean. Tim, welcome to the podcast again.
Thanks for having me again.
So, from the perspective of the crew, maybe talk about how you and the other kind of adult leaders see the crew's role in pulling the whole production together.
They have a unique challenge because for them it can be kind of difficult to see the finished product from the very beginning. So we're throwing like a lot of pieces at them, and they're doing everything piece by piece at the same time. And it kind of is a little while before they realize, okay, this is what it's going to look like in the end. But during that time, they're here 4 days a week, a couple hours after school. It's a pretty dedicated group. We've got a lot of new people this year too, a lot of freshmen. Without them, we wouldn't be able to put this on, right? They're doing the construction, the painting, finding like all the props and everything that we need, focusing the lights, all of that good stuff. So the crew starts at the same time as we start rehearsing on the stage. Some weeks they're busier than others based on what's happening here in the PAC, if we can get back here or not. But it ramps up pretty quickly for them. Most of the stuff for the show is already built, and we're just waiting to be able to get it on the stage now.
And then from your perspective, your job is to pull together, and I'm making this up, but three parts: the crew, that's the background and the lighting and all that, the cast, and then the music. How do you make all that work together?
It's very difficult. Um, that is the biggest source of stress, I think, for this whole process. Is you get to the last like 2 or 3 weeks, all of these components are coming together at the same time, and they've all kind of been doing things individually up to that point. So first thing that's really important is communication with everybody throughout the entire process, making sure like the orchestra knows all of the cuts that we've made in the music, right? Making sure that the crew knows exactly what these pieces are being used for so they can be built to be safe and usable. And then once we get to the point where it's all coming together, we have a big Saturday tech day, which will be Saturday the 9th of March for this show, where we're here for like 9 or 10 hours. We do a huge cue to cue, which is where we walk through every single scene change, every single light change, every sound cue, do that for about 5 hours, break for lunch, and then we add in music in the afternoon. And we have what's called a Sitz probe, which is where the actors are sitting and singing with the orchestra behind them. Orchestra.
Is that the first time? Sorry, is that the first time the orchestra and the cast and the crew are all together?
Yes. And, you know, the cast might pop in occasionally to an orchestra rehearsal to sing a little bit, but it's never everybody at once. And on that day, it's also the first day where we have some adults who come in and play with the orchestra as well. So professionals, community members, some staff members. It's lots of students in the pit, but also these other people who are coming in and helping us round out the sound, which is a great experience for the students because they get to sit next to professionals playing like Broadway scores.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Tim, thank you for pulling that all together for us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Hope you enjoy it.
That's today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this peek behind the scenes with the crew. The entire production, cast, crew, orchestra, and the adults that helped them deserve a ton of credit. Make sure to come out and see the shows at the South Milwaukee Performing Arts Center on March 15th, 16th, and 17th. Today we heard stories about students exploring new experiences and skills. An important part of the referendum on the ballot on April 2nd is career exploration pathways for students starting in elementary school. The referendum, called Safe, Supported, and Successful, will help improve safety by addressing traffic on 15th Avenue, adding and upgrading cameras in our buildings, and providing incentives to recruit the best teachers to provide stability for our students, while building out those career pathways, starting with computer science. Learn more on the district website, and please remember to vote on April 2nd. If you're not registered to vote, you can do so at City Hall up to Friday before the vote, or on the day of the vote at your polling location. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.